All right.
Hi, and welcome to what are we calling this podcast?
In the studio with Firefly Alibi and Rhino.
And
Ainesh.
Ainesh. So
Ainesh.
today we have our first guest in the podcast, which is kind of awesome. And Ainesh, tell us a little bit about yourself and all the fun things that you're into.
Yeah, so I'm primarily a dancer. I'm an artist, a dance-based artist. Been dancing for about 15 to 16 years. Went to college for dance in upstate New York, a small liberal arts college called Bard College. I'm part of a dance collective called 206 Dance Collective. And I primarily am into choreography, but I also teach dance. And I also teach something called the Alexander Technique, which is a self help awareness building technique that informs better presence in an individual and helps them with pain issues, getting into better posture, and also becoming better performers. I also have a spiritual practice which is called Animism. It's Sajik Animism, which is a really ancient practice that connects one to their ancestors and allows for more healing and wholeness. I also love to sketch. I play music. I play guitar. I play a bit of tabla. I compose music on Ableton sometimes. And I love to read. I'm a big fantasy buff, huge Lord of the Rings fan. Yeah, so that's me in a 2-minute nutshell. Yeah.
Well, since we did invite you to talk about yourself, let's
Yeah.
start with Lord of the Rings.
Oh, okay. Wow. Start about the fantasy. Yeah.
No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah.
Why don't you tell us a little bit about your thought process in how you approach choreographing dance?
Okay. When it comes to choreographing dance, recently I use ideas that I improvise based on, and then I record these improvisations, and then I do some reflection on text, and then I watch what I choreograph. And it's kind of like a cycle where it's recording, reflecting, watching, recording, reflect. And I've primarily been working solo for the most part. Recently I made a piece inspired by one of the Sajik animist spirits called Daf, which is the spirit of the stag. And I connected to that spirit when improvising. And I would take down some notes, I would watch the video, and then I would also do my rituals and trances as part of the tradition, which would then inform what I would do with the costumes, what I would do for the music. So my process changes with each piece. I don't have like a set method of working when it comes to choreography that I only, because there are choreographers who work like that, who have a way of working and they apply it to every piece. For me, the piece kind of informs. But most recently, it's been using video a lot and using journaling as a way of moving forward into what I want to explore further with the work.
Do you have like some kind of a notation when you journal?
No, I just do like reflection. I don't use sketches or like I don't reflect based on movement. I reflect based on ideas and feelings. I reflect based on what I do reflect on movement and things, but that's mostly from the video, like what calls out to me, what. And I guess it's my practice in the Alexander technique, which also helps with figuring out what I'm drawn to. It's my practice in animism. So these two practices kind of inform my artistic practices. So they help me make choices based on what I feel communicates the idea that I want to communicate better. Because essentially that's what I'm attempting to do with my choreography, right? I'm trying to communicate something that I feel strongly about and share something that I feel strongly about. So how can I do that with clarity? And that's where the AT practice and the animism really helps. Yeah.
Awesome. So I guess that's a good segue into the Alexander technique.
Yeah.
Could you tell us a little bit about it?
Yeah, it's a pretty old practice. It was developed in the late 1800s and early 1900s by an Australian actor named F.M. Alexander. It's named after him. And he had some troubles with his voice. He would constantly lose his voice when performing. So what the doctor told him didn't work for him. So he decided to take responsibility for him upon himself to figure out what was going on with his voice and why he was. And he realized there were certain habits that there were certain things that he was doing. Very specifically, he was pulling his head back, he was depressing his larynx, and he was gasping for air when he was trying to perform.
So he did this during the performance?
Whenever he was trying to speak. So his normal speech was fine, but when he was performing, he had all these habits that he was doing. So he used mirrors to figure these habits out, and he basically came up with a method of thinking in order to prevent himself from doing these things. And that's what the technique is essentially about. It's about thinking and activity. It's about finding a way of preventing yourself from doing the things you don't need to do when you're partaking in an activity. So it's a method of um, going away from habit and finding freedom through embracing uncertainty. So that informs art practice in a great way, because that's what we're trying to do as artists most of the time, right? We're trying to embrace uncertainty through our practices and find more freedom. So the technique is actually a great tool for artists. Yeah.
So how does that inform your techniques as a dancer and a musician? Maybe you spoke a little bit about dance.
Right.
Let's temporarily talk about, say, guitar, because you also play that.
Yeah.
How does that change the way you approach the guitar?
I think what has changed about the way I approach the guitar is, I mean, the way I sit and the way I stand while I play the guitar, on a very superficial level. Like that's what it affects. Because when I used to play the guitar as a kid, I wanted to be like all the cool guitarists, or like wearing the guitar too low and they're like slumping and they're just, which is fine. Like the technique is not about doing things a particular way. Like slumping is fine as long as you're aware you're slumping and you're doing it consciously and you can come out of it, right? Because we get stuck there. That's the problem. So it's helped me find a little more balance in the way I approach, and that actually informs it's actually made it all more enjoyable. Whether it's dancing or guitaring,
Enjoyable as in you could do it for longer, or
I can do it for longer. I'm able to find more lightness, and I don't get too hung on to and serious. I think when I record something on the guitar now, if I don't do it in 2 or 3 takes, I move on, because I'm like, I'm not gonna, because I get stressed about it.
Okay.
So I come back to it. So things, I've developed tools and practices that help find a more balanced approach to creating and composition because of the technique. Yeah.
One of the things from my own personal life
Yeah.
is when I try to speak on stage,
Okay.
it's one of the most petrifying things.
Right.
And people who know,
Yeah.
like I usually sort of just talk and finish it. And most people don't know, but like people who know see me fidgeting, they know like what my little bits of terror, I think, that possibly comes from everybody hates me. So now, trying to tie it, I mean, essentially what I'm trying to understand is, suppose I followed the Alexander technique, what would I be doing to not essentially freak out
Yeah.
and sort of, like be more comfortable in my own skin, kind of.
Yeah, I mean, for that you'll have to experience a lesson first of all,
Okay,
because
okay.
because a lot of it is it's an experiential practice. So how it will affect you, I'm not sure, because we are reprogramming the nervous system. Because in a lesson we use hands and words to communicate these ideas through touch. But like you said, the first thing that will probably happen is that you'll start noticing that you do these things. Because we sometimes want to jump to correction, but we don't even know what we are correcting, and the noticing becomes the first step. And then it's a more sustainable approach, because what we do is we try and fix one thing in our being, and we think that that'll solve the problem. But this is a whole person approach. So what will happen is that with time, these habits will fade away, but it will take a little bit more time. Because because it's an educational practice. It's a student teacher relationship. It's not like going to a doctor and saying, give me a pill, fix this for me. It's more like taking the responsibility. So you'll start taking responsibility, actually, is what will happen. You'll start noticing, oh, these are my habits. Now how can I address them on my own? Like, people will give you suggestions, but ultimately you have to take the responsibility. So you'll start taking more responsibility for whether you're being on stage. You'll start becoming aware, okay, and because you'll be giving yourself these conscious directions, and you'll be thinking, or before you do the activity or during it. I mean, it's difficult when you're doing something like public speaking, because when you're on stage, it's better to give yourself the presence before you go on stage, and then just be on stage. You're not thinking about it anymore. But while you're on stage, what will happen is that you'll probably be less stressed about it. So even if you do decide to like go into one of your habits, instead of beating yourself up about it and getting into that loop, you'll be like, okay, next time I'll be, because we're working with very deep things, but it's a light practice ultimately, where it's about essentially moving forward in a light manner, not in a serious manner. Um, so yeah, one, you will start noticing these habits. Eventually, you'll start addressing the habits, and then you'll also stop beating yourself up when you succumb to an habit. These are the changes that will probably happen for you as a public speaker if you partake in the technique. Yeah.
So I feel that this is definitely something that I would like to try.
Okay.
But asking on behalf of myself and other people who are a little uncertain.
Yeah.
When you started practicing the Alexander technique, right? This is just so that I get like a time scale. Like, how long did it take for you to like become completely free, like or partially free or whatever? Like, essentially, before you could notice a change.
Yeah.
Like, I'm sure it's about my own internal gauge of whether I'm better or not. But like, I'm trying to guess. Like, do I think like I'll be better in like 5 days, or is it like? But it's kind of hard when when I'm a test case, which possibly can take an uncertain amount of time. So I'm kind of saying, in your example, like, how long did it take you?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, like you said, it's only partial because it's an ongoing process, right? You're constantly looking for freedom in more ease. It's a never-ending like process, and there are teachers who have been teaching for like 30, 40 years who are still practicing and still discovering. And I've been only teaching for a year, and I've been training for about 5 years. But I think um, for me, I would say it took about like 3 months before I really started noticing, okay, this is really changing the way I approach things, and not just dance, and the way I approach life. And I think for an average pupil, when I teach, I recommend taking at least 3 lessons, because without that, you don't get a sense of how the technique really works. And it takes about, I would say, for most people, it can take about 12 to 15 lessons if they really are willing to invest, to notice a profound change in the way they approach activities in life. Um, that that doesn't have to be 15 consecutive days. Probably that's not even possible in most cases. In
More
the
like
way,
once a week.
yeah,
for
more like
3 months.
once or twice a week. Yeah, so for like 3 months it would work out. Um, and and then practicing the rest of the time. So if you're meeting once a week, I will probably we give students homework. There are certain practices and procedures in the technique that you can practice on your own, and because it's about responsibility also, right? It's a student-teacher relationship. So the student has to actually take on some of the responsibility by practicing the homework that has been given to them. It's not a lot of work in terms of, I mean, it's not a lot of intense, like concentrated that you do this thing and it's done. It's like being in that thinking all day long. But that comes with time. Initially, it takes a few practices in isolated chunks to find that connection sometimes. Um, but yeah, for me, it took about 3 months, and I think that's the average that it would take. Yeah.
So to me, this sounds like a lot like other mindfulness practices,
Yeah.
like meditation or even just psychotherapy,
Mm.
because they all have a similar approach.
Mm.
Like all of them involve you. You don't have to always study under someone, but when you do, there is the idea of you take a few days to work on the things that you learned,
Mm.
and then it takes about 2, 3, 4 months for you to get settled in.
Mm.
And now, from what I understand, you are a very present person, even otherwise in life. And how much of this was before the Alexander technique, and how much of it was from the Alexander technique? If you could, can you talk about how because you are also involved in other spiritual practices
Yeah.
that align you and
Right.
make you more present? Can you tell me about the synergies between them?
Yeah, I think the synergy is essentially that, like the Alexander technique is a pre-technique, is what they call it. So it's something that you can apply to anything. So there are Alexander technique teachers who teach yoga, who teach Tai Chi, who are therapists, who are dancers, who are performers. And they all bring the Alexander technique into this practice. On its own, the Alexander technique is really not, except for people who teach the Alexander technique, it doesn't serve a lot of purpose because you want to be able to use it in an activity. So if you're a sports person, you want to be able to apply it to a sport. And the synergy between that and the animism practice is that we are functioning with the idea of wholeness, that there is no distinction between mind and body, which is quite an age-old concept, but it somehow got lost with the development of these new age techniques and therapies. That because now we have like mental illnesses and physical illness, but it's all connected. Like
yes.
if you have a physical ache, there's stress in your mind, and that's what's unique about something like the Alexander technique and even the animism practice, which approaches it from a spiritual level. This idea of wholeness, and wholeness coming from the word holy, right? Uh, but yeah, when you go to a therapist, they're like, "Oh, you have a mental issue, so I'll fix it by talking to you." If you go to a physiotherapist, you're like, "Oh, you have a physical issue, I'll give you some exercises." But the Alexander technique is like, "Oh, I don't want to fix what your mental or physical issue is. I'm going to work on your whole coordination." And then with time, the intention is that whatever so-called issues you might have will actually dissipate.
It was very similar to that whole qigong thing, right? And the doctors who practice remedial measures through qigong.
I don't know a lot of doctors who practice qigong, but I think it is akin to yoga and tai chi, but I would say the essential yoga and tai chi, which was practiced, originally developed, and because now there are like yoga classes which have become about exercise, and again they've
Power
started
yoga.
they started doing the whole division of physical mental again, right? Like you do these exercise and you've done your yoga for the day. But again, that's the idea behind yoga, right? It's union of mind and body. That's what yoga really means. So it's about absolving that duality and finding more what we call psychophysical unity in the Alexander technique. So yeah, I don't think I think there are similarities. I think there are practices, but there are principles in the Alexander technique which are unique to the technique. There's a principle which is called inhibition and direction, and it's not Freudian inhibition, but the idea of saying no and giving yourself conscious directions where you're sending messages from your brain to different parts of your body to find release. And that's unique to the Alexander technique. I don't think there's any technique or practice which does that, where you're thinking about finding release, say in your neck by releasing it, or finding more ease in your jaw by asking for more release in your jaw. So that's something that F.M. Alexander himself came up with. There are other things that are unique to the technique as well. But the psychophysical unity thing is not unique to it. Like I said, when F.M. Alexander himself came up with the technique, he was aware that mind-body unity is not something that hadn't been thought about already. He was just aware that people were kind of deviating from that for some reason. People were separating mind and body, and there needed to be a return to that concept of union again. Yeah.
It's very interesting. One of the areas that I noticed similar stuff to the Alexander technique, and also Alexander technique itself, was in playing guitar.
Yeah.
Now, I've had two different encounters with people that informed my playing. One of them was not even a guitarist.
Okay.
So, the first one was a guitarist. Shout out to Deepak Verma, epic flamenco guitarist. He told me about the importance of practicing in front of a mirror and watching your posture,
Yeah.
and also like filming yourself from other angles, because that gives you consistency.
Yeah.
But the other, which helped me quite a bit, because he was a flamenco guitarist and I play electric guitar, which is a bit different. But the other person who helped me quite a bit was my physiotherapist. Shout out to Dr. Muthu of Stride Spine and Sports Rehab, Cunningham Road.
We're looking for sponsors, by the way.
Yeah, please. No, but he literally this one time, I think I was coming to you to jam or something like that, or maybe it was somebody else. But I had my guitar with me when I had gone to the
The bass guitar.
No, my acoustic guitar. That one actually.
Oh, wasn't me.
Okay, I had my acoustic guitar with me, and I had gone to jam with somebody, and I had a session, like a physio session, right before that. So after the session, he was like, "Oh, show me how you play," and then I thought he was just interested in like listening to my music. How naive of me! No, but he was like X-raying my entire body and my posture and everything, and he's like, "Is my shoulder internally rotating or is it externally rotating?" and things like that. And gave me a few pointers. And because after that, I had gone to him about, how do I play better, long term. And he introduced me to, I can't remember his name, unfortunately, but one of A.R. Rahman's guitarists. It's a dude that, like, basically his technique involved always having one foot on top of something, like on the stage. So he would always...
Yeah, with that
That's
strange
kind of
posture.
Yeah, but what would happen is both of his shoulders would externally rotate instead of internally rotate. So you wouldn't ever slouch this way because that causes pain. Like any technique where you go in like this, that creates a lot of pain. Yeah, it was more like that.
Yeah.
Exactly. So
This is how everyone plays guitar.
it's a power pose, basically. So he was like, the power pose is a real thing and it does give you power. I'm like, oh, so it's not bro science. Like, so when you see somebody playing with that, I've seen this again. So other guys, okay, more shout outs. Nick Tombing, I saw him play at open for Ichika Nito at a show. And he also had the same like epic power pose, like he comes, stands straight, introduces himself, and then turns sideways. Right? Like, and all of these people that do this weird sideways thing, they all are very much like spot on. And many of the other guitarists that do that, right? Like,
I don't know their names, but possibly as you, I don't know, shout them out, I'll, recollect them.
not names, but I mean, in general, when you look at like more technical playing, a lot of people adopt.
Yeah, I mean, as Ainesh was mentioning, either in this or the previous recording, because it's like sort of, because we did try a couple of times to get this right.
Oh yeah, Ainesh had to employ the Alexander technique to get his mic technique up to speed.
He was mentioning that there are players of guitar who slouch forward and hang it really low, right?
Yeah.
You can only play power chords that way, and you're the coolest punk rocker ever, but you can't really play complicated anything, and it has to come up, and you're essentially back in that, like sort of more natural posture.
Yeah, I love the classical position where your strap is really high up and...
Yeah. I mean, that's another way, instead of sticking your legs far apart, to sort of get the same external rotation for your hands.
Oh yeah, true, there are different things. Good point. That lets you see straight.
Yeah.
I guess vocalists and guitarists who sing would do that, no? I
Yeah,
mean-
like Beatles and Johnny Cash and all these guys, right? Bob
yeah.
Dylan.
Oh yeah, that's true.
Yeah. Shout out to Bob Dylan.
Who doesn't need our shout outs?
I'm sure he's listening.
Thanks for listening.
Uncle Bob.
Love your music.
Speaking of shout outs, do you want to talk about, I mean, we'll go back to other subjects, but do you want to talk about the services you offer in North Bangalore and rest of Bangalore too, but preferably North Bangalore?
Yeah, so I conduct workshops in like introductory Alexander Technique workshops. I'm having one coming up at BCC, Bangalore Creative Circus.
Lovely place.
Yeah, beautiful space, which is on, I have to check my calendar again, but I think it's on the 6th of Jan. You can follow me on Instagram. It's Ainesh Madan, AINESHMADAN.
We will put all of that in
In
the
yeah.
description.
Yeah. Then I also do movement workshops. I'm doing an improvisation tools workshop at this amazing dance space called Offstage Grounds for Practice, which is in Wilson Gardens, which is on the 24th of Jan. And then I do private lessons online and offline in dance, in Alexander Technique. I also offer animism services like healing practices, house blessings, any kind of spiritual guidance that on like a personal private basis, one-to-one basis. And yeah, these are essentially the things. These are like my primary. I've also done some content writing in the past, so I do some of that. I'm creative writing. I compose music for dance, so I can offer that to people who are interested. I have a few sketches. I do sketching.
Please do show this.
Yeah,
Oh
I do
yeah,
sketching.
this is the fun part.
So
Now,
yeah.
I would need to give some. We would need help with the commentary because you will be in front of the camera over there.
Wait, I won't
Showing
know
people-
what picture he's showing them.
No, it doesn't matter. He will just go in and yeah.
So these are some.
These are some of his sketches.
I don't know if it's showing you.
Why don't you go closer
Yeah.
and just turn the pages?
We need a better way to handle this. But
We would probably have an overhead camera or something
next time, yeah.
Next time,
Does
something
that
much.
second camera works?
The second camera could have been this,
Oh yeah.
but unfortunately, yeah, not this time.
But from what I understand, these sketches are the abstract form,
Yeah.
and I think you have to like dig deep into what else made you feel the same way in your past to sort of connect to it. There's a particular one called Levity, which I liked a lot. It connected something somewhere. I think I need a lot of introspection to figure out what happened. But personally, I really like his sketches.
It's all right. Your Instagram might have these, right?
Yeah.
At some point, when we finally figure out how to digitize these.
Thanks for showing us, Ainesh.
Yeah, sure. It's a more recent practice sketching for me, but I've been being more regular with it recently.
Did you find yourself picking up more practices after you started the Alexander technique?
Yeah, that is something that can happen. Actually, we are encouraged during our training to try new things because that's a great way to let go of past habits.
What did you pick up? Because you were a dancer before you
Yeah,
started the Alexander technique. Like you were a guitarist before you started the
A
Alexander?
little bit. I mean, I
Okay.
used to play guitar a little bit. New things that I started doing, I think sketching was much later. So I picked up new languages. I got
nice.
fluent in German after I started the tech, and it helped me learn German. And I think I'm like, my Kannada is quite rough, but basic Kannada. And so
Did it improve with the technique?
I think so. Yeah. And I started writing with my left hand, so it goes both ways. It improves.
Whoa.
Yeah, it improves your coordination, and the coordination then improves your capacity to learn the language or the skill.
So can you talk about? I mean, I just want to like focus a little extra on you learning languages. Like
Yeah.
you learned at least two languages recently, from what you've told me
Right.
in the past few years. What are the meta skills that language learning requires that you have identified in the process?
I would say meta skill. I think being open to failure is a big one. Because I think my whole I've struggled with language learning when I've realized that when I've thought that okay, I'm gonna say something that people are gonna have to correct, so I'm not gonna say it, and that's a huge trap. I think you have to be open to people correcting you and telling you, okay, you're not saying it the right way, which is why I think the best teachers are the ones who are like friends close enough to tell you that your Kannada is actually quite rough or your language is, because a lot of people are very nice and they'll be like, oh, you'll say a few words and they'll be like, oh, your Kannada is great. Oh, awesome. But that doesn't get you further. It's like a really nice thing to say.
Yeah. I've noticed this about people. Like sometimes the most critical, snarky people are the most helpful.
Yeah.
Because the ones who are super encouraging, they don't tell you anything that helps you
Yeah.
improve.
Yeah.
But the one you're doing that wrong, you can say, "Thank you, that was great."
Now I'll go cry for like 5 hours and then fix it. But thank you.
Yeah. I mean, I don't mean they have. I mean, it also matters on how they say it. I don't mean people need to be like, just tear you apart because you can't say. But I think the essence being that people who are constructive with an approach to tell you that you have work to do, are the people you want to practice with, essentially. Yeah, I think that helps. Another meta skill that helps with language learning. I think regularity, like consistency, is really important. Because like my Kannada was quite good for a while, and now it's become a bit rough. And I think part of that is just because I've stopped using it. So like when I was learning the writing, I was practicing every day. With the German, I journal in German every day, so I'm able to stay in touch. And I speak to a person in Germany every week. And another Alexander technique teacher. Shout out to Mario Schenker.
Hey Mario.
Hey Mario.
Hey, what's up?
Yeah.
Du hast mich.
So regularity, I guess, is the other meta skill that really helps. Yeah.
What about the tonalities of some languages? Like, I don't know if it's there in Kannada, but definitely in Malayalam, there are sounds that you don't have in English. French has sounds that don't exist in English. Like, can you say Alapura?
Alapura?
Yeah, you can, right?
Okay.
Can you say it? Alapura?
Alapura?
Pura.
Pura?
Ra.
Ra?
Yeah. So there, French and Arabic both have the throaty sounds. That stuff.
Yeah.
You know, like, one of the things that I found hardest about picking up new languages, personally, was adapting to sounds that do not exist in the languages I already speak. Like, there are certain things that you do in those languages. You know, like, some languages require a very specific style of breathing or pacing yourself. Like, Japanese is one of those, right? Like,
that's really interesting.
and yeah, like, what were your struggles like with German and Kannada? Like, let's talk about very specific things.
I think with German, sorry, I didn't. I was quite okay with German, like picking it up. I was quite regular with the classes and stuff, so I didn't have a lot of trouble. Luckily, I was able to take on. I think the grammar was the struggle with German for me. Vocabulary was good, and I think that's the other essential thing about languages is that one of my teachers told me that vocabulary is like 70% of the work, and I think that's quite true.
I would say grammar is 70%.
Really? You feel so?
Because there's so much, like, there's so many little rules. and when you talk to a person, there's always, like, context. Like, is it past? Is it present? Is it past, present?
Yeah.
All of those weird things. And
Yeah.
we're always describing things to each other. No?
Yeah, but I feel like once you have a grasp of enough words, then you can string together sentences so that you can actually communicate what you want to, even if it's not grammatically sound. And grammar is something I've struggled with in German, in Kannada. So grammar is definitely a struggle for me because of all the rules and such and the puzzles of it.
And Kannada? What about that?
Yeah, same grammar. Like tenses. Like tenses is difficult for me. I will say like Neevu Bartini. I'll be like, and then they'll be looking at me like, what? I think you mean Neevu Banni. Like, yeah, okay. So things like that. I think grammar and tense and yeah, those are struggles for me mostly. Like vocabulary, I can pick up quite fluently, but yeah.
Were there any particular sounds that were extra challenging in Kannada or German?
Sounds?
Yeah.
Sounds, no. I think I've been a public speaker growing up, so I was able to have become like fluent in the way I speak the language quite fast.
Fascinating.
Yeah, so that wasn't so much of a struggle. I can't think of a particular sound. Also, I grew up speaking Hindi as well, which has a lot of
What type of Hindi?
like
There's quite a few of them, though.
I guess the most like colloquial regular Hindi.
Where are you from? Like, where did you grow up?
I was born in Delhi, but my dad was in the Air Force, so I just moved like every
what
4
kind
years.
of places did you stay
Delhi,
at? Like,
Nagpur, Shillong, Bangalore, and then I was in Singapore for a couple of years. But in India, these were the places that I lived in.
Just like side note, when you were in Nagpur, did you have samosa sambar?
I don't remember. I was a kid then. I'm sure I did. I don't know if I had sambar and samosa, but I'm sure we had a lot of poha and
It's not notable
stuff.
enough for him to remember.
But
Yeah,
it tastes really good.
I'm sure. Yeah,
And poha bhel,
poha. Yeah, poha a lot. My parents are from Jabalpur, so poha is like
staple.
staple. Yeah, yeah.
Your parents are from their natives, or they were just posted there because.
No, my parents are both born and raised from Jabalpur.
Cool. You
Yeah.
must have seen plenty of jongas growing up, no?
Like the the rickshaws, you mean?
No. So there was this epic 4x4 built for the army
Okay.
at the Jabalpur vehicle factory.
Okay.
It's called the Nissan Jonga.
Okay.
It looks like a Jeep.
Okay.
It gives you like 3 kilometers per liter of diesel. And it's got a giant engine.
I don't think I saw one of those because I didn't spend so much time there. I was moving around. But
I mean, this
only
has
visited.
been expired for quite a while, so it's from your dad's time. More
Yeah,
than
I'm
from your
sure he's
time,
seen it. Yeah.
Like,
Nice.
in my opinion, it's one of the coolest vehicles, like, made in India, like, ever.
Right.
And I will fight you if you disagree.
Okay.
Shout out to his dad, who probably got to ride a Jonga because I didn't.
And also, thank you, sir, for your service.
Yeah.
Yes.
Appreciate it.
Hi, Dad.
All right. So let's now get into some more nerdier bits.
Yeah.
And now we are both, I guess, more composers than musicians. I mean, we're in that zone, right? Like, you consider yourself a producer, musician, composer, all of that? You could just say yes.
Yes.
All right. I mean, you play a lot of instruments, right? And you think in those arrangements all the time, like, and you understand a lot of styles.
Yes.
And one of the things that I would definitely like to learn from you is, how do you write music for dance? Because now I can appreciate dance as a spectator. I understand the concept of rhythm and those kind of things. That also is an element of dance. But as a composer, like, how would you talk about composing for dance? Like, what does that look like?
I actually I'm mostly from the electronic music realm.
Doesn't matter.
Yeah,
But, like,
so-
what are the elements that you put in? Like, I want to, yeah.
Um,
Like, what does the dance follow, you know?
Yeah, so I think there's always a text that informs my work usually. So I go back to that text when I'm composing the music or the dance. And then I use that as the inspiration to create. So I will use samples a lot. I use Ableton mostly when I'm composing. I'll use samples that I've recorded or samples that I find online. And then I use very simple like beat making techniques from the hip hop world, which I studied, like not studied, I learned from a friend, I picked up from a friend. So I use those. Um, Sometimes I'll use, and this is not when I'm composing, when I'm collaborating with a composer, I use chance procedures, which is a technique that was developed by these great artists, Merce Cunningham and John Cage. Shout out.
Hi guys.
Yeah.
Hi.
Yeah. They came up with this idea that music and dance need to be independent from each other. So what they did was they would compose, one would compose the music, the other would compose the dance. And only on the day of the performance, they would come together.
Wow.
So I've done that with a piece of work. So of course I can't do that when I'm composing a solo for myself.
Yeah, because
because
you're
yeah,
doing everything.
yeah. Unless I tell the musician that, this is the idea and this is how it's gonna come together. But that's something that I fall back on when I'm choreographing or creating quite a bit. Is this idea of chance and randomness, being open to not controlling the outcome. So that's to find freedom from controlling the outcome is the essence of it. I haven't used chance procedures in a while, and there are artists who have studied it to like a much deeper depth. I mean, because much more depth, and but yeah, I think those are the tools that I usually use when I'm composing for music for dance. In general, yeah.
So, when you're composing for dance, do you still think in terms of beats and measures and time signatures, or?
When I'm composing, yeah, because I'm composing on Ableton, so it's coming. Sometimes I'm making soundscapes, so I'm not thinking so much in terms of. Well, actually, it depends. It depends on what I'm trying to create. If I'm just trying to create a soundscape, then I don't usually think about the beats and the measures, which has recently been the case because I've been trying to create improvisatory works.
But your body is still thinking in terms of beats and measures when you dance, right?
Not necessarily.
Oh.
Not necessarily, because I'll rehearse to silence. And there are a lot of artists in the modern, postmodern realm who are doing that, who are choreographing to silence, who are choreographing to just soundscapes. There's no 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. There's no metronome attached to it, and that's how I've been choreographing. It's more like, recently I've been treating my dance works as rituals in themselves. So I will connect to a certain spirit. And then for however long I'm connected, I will improvise and channel that spirit through whatever I'm creating. And time is not really a factor when you go into a ritual, right? Because it's you're not on clock time anymore. You're not on linear time. So it's whatever time it takes, which can be a little bit like, how do you present that to a curator, right? Like, how long is your performance? Well, it depends. Can't really say that. But usually what happens is when you repeat it a few times, you realize, okay, it's going to be approximately like 10 minutes. So the piece that I've been working on now, which is informed by one of the Animism spirits, which is called Ga. It's the spirit of one of the hunters in the tradition. Every time I practice, it's come up to be about 10 minutes. The last piece that I created, which was called Daf, which is the spirit of the stag from the Animism tradition, piece was initially would come out to about 15 minutes, but then as I worked on it a little bit more, became like 10 minutes, 12 minutes. So you get a sense of how long, but there's no beat or measure to, and even though I used a drum track for the performance in the end, like, which you can check out on the 206 Vimeo. And yeah, shout out to 206, my dance collective.
Hey,
Big shout out
206.
to them. Yeah.
You're
I
all
rush if
welcome
you
to
want.
come to this podcast.
Yeah.
It's an
Yeah.
open invitation. Please do bring them, by the way.
Yeah, I will let them know. I will share the video, and if they want to come, we'll do a collective
Yeah,
podcast.
they want to dance for punk rock or something. maybe.
But while sitting, because there's no place here.
Yeah. Bob your head in rhythm.
So yeah, that's the essence of like music for dance creation. Not always beat based.
Very interesting. Is it okay? So, just asking you now on camera, but you would be able to link us to some of your works that represent all of this so that we can add it in the description?
Yeah, there are videos too. So if you go on the 206 Vimeo, if you look up 206 dance, vimeo.com/206 dance collective, which we can put a link to. There are some works which are primarily dance films that we created mostly during the pandemic. There are trailers of my work on my website as well. So if you go to aineshmadan.com, there are trailers. Full-on performances I usually only share upon request because like it's not the experience, right? These are performances, so on video they don't really resonate the essence of what it's really about. But the dance films and the trailers, yeah, one can access. And there are clips, of course, on Instagram, but those are very short. They are only about a minute, 2 minutes, and they're mostly teasers and trailers as well for other works. Yeah. But there is, on my website, there's a link to my music alias, which is Six Limbs, and some of the music that I've created for dance is there. A couple of albums that I've recorded are on that as well. Yeah, some of my writing is on my website as well. Yeah.
Well, I can say, I think we've covered enough ground for one podcast,
Yeah.
and I think plugging in all your information is a good place to sort of pause for now. Hopefully, you'll be back again.
That would be great.
Yeah, and then we could, go in depth into each particular thing, like way more. Because I think right now it was more just like a brief overview. Any
It was very insightful. Like,
Yeah, thank you for having me. It's my first time being on a podcast of any sort. I've only hosted podcasts. We did a podcast during the pandemic that's called Dancing Through Walls. One of the other members of the dance collective, Joshua Silo, and I, we
can
were
we link to it?
yeah, sure. We were
Let's do that.
we were interviewing people on the pandemic and asking them about like other dancers mostly and our dance artists. But this is my first time being interviewed. So it's a new experience for me. So
I
thank
hope it
you
was
for
a good
having me. Yeah, it
experience.
was great. It was great. Thank you. Yeah.
all right.
All right.
Thanks.
Okay. Peace.